James landed at Tan Son Nyat Airport shortly after 6 a.m., the sky still gray and soft from the late-night rain. He had barely slept. Every minute on the flight, he imagined Deep alone in the wooden house, the echo of his father's footsteps shadowing her door. He didn't wait for luggage, didn't stop for coffee, didn't call a driver. He walked straight out of the terminal and booked the fastest car he could find. He wasn't coming home as a son, he was coming back as a shield. His phone buzzed. A single message from his father. "Come see me first." James clenched his jaw. Not today, not after what Victor had done. He deleted the message without replying. Back in the valley, Deep paced the small kitchen, hands trembling despite her efforts to stay calm. She kept replaying the scene from last night, the men in black, the envelope, the threat stitched between every line. NHI sat at the table, coloring with her usual concentration, unaware of the storm hovering over her mother's head. "Mioi, tai sao home ne mi kong kuoi?" she asked suddenly. Deep froze. She forced a smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Just thinking, sweetie. About Daddy?" Deep nodded. "Yes. About Daddy, and about the danger that was following him home." James reached the valley before noon. When he opened the front gate, the wooden house stood quiet, but something about the silence felt wrong. The kind of wrong that lingers after someone unwelcome has visited. He walked in quickly. "Deep?" She stepped out of the kitchen, eyes widening in relief the moment she saw him. "You came back," she whispered. James pulled her close, one hand instinctively on the back of her head, the other wrapped tightly around her waist. "I'm sorry," he murmured. "I should never have left you alone with him roaming freely." Deep shook her head, breath shaky. "No. I didn't want you to come back because of fear." "I didn't," James replied softly. "I came back because I choose you. Always you." NHI peeked around the corner. "Daddy," she ran, and James lifted her effortlessly. For a moment, the house felt alive again, warm, whole, but peace came with a short lifespan. Because a black car rolled to a stop outside the gate, James stiffened instantly. He knew that sound. He knew that engine. He knew the man who always arrived without warning, Victor. Victor stepped onto the gravel path with the confidence of a man used to being obeyed. James placed NHI gently down and whispered, "Go inside with Mommy." Deep held the child and retreated slowly, her grip tightening. Victor didn't wait to be welcomed. "You came back earlier than I expected," he said, tone cold, distant. A dramatic gesture, but predictable. James didn't bow, didn't greet him, didn't even soften his stance. You sent men to threaten my wife, he said flatly. Victor raised a brow. Wife? You two aren't legally married. We are married, James said, voice hard as steel. Paper doesn't make a family. Choosing someone does. Victor scoffed. Romantic. But foolish. He took a step closer. You think I'll let you throw away your future for a woman with nothing? A woman with a child that isn't. Do Roy. James barked. The sound cut across the garden like a whip. Victor blinked, taken aback for half a second. No one raised their voice at him. No one ever dared, except this son he could never control. James stepped forward. If you ever speak about Deep or NHI that way again, I won't stay silent, he warned. Not now. Not ever. Victor's expression remained unreadable, but something flickered. Annoyance? Or the sting of losing power over his own blood? You're making a mistake, Victor said quietly. And mistakes have consequences. James didn't hesitate. So do threats. The air between them crackled. This is your last warning, James said. Stay away from my family, Victor smirked. Family? Or weakness? For the first time, James's calm cracked. She is my strength, he said. They both are. Victor's smile faded. He turned away slowly, but before stepping into the car, he left a final strike. If you choose that woman, you will no longer be my son. James didn't flinch. Then I choose her. The car door slammed shut. The engine roared, and Victor disappeared down the valley road. But the storm he brought stayed. James returned to the house. Deep stood there, clutching the doorframe, her face pale. You shouldn't have said that, she whispered. He'll destroy you. James cupped her face gently. No one destroys me when I know what I'm fighting for. But your future, you are my future. Her breath stilled. But James, this isn't just about us anymore, she whispered. It's about the company, the board, the inheritance. He won't stop. I don't need his money, James said. But he does, Deep said quietly. James froze. What do you mean? She swallowed. Your father didn't send men last night just to scare me? He also gave them orders to follow you. Follow me? Why? Deep trembled, voice lowering. Because he's afraid, not of losing you, but of losing the business. James frowned. Explain. Deep took a shaky breath. Your father's empire isn't as strong as everyone thinks. James's heart pounded. What did he tell you? Deep whispered the words she had been terrified to speak. Victor is going bankrupt. The world seemed to tilt. James felt the ground leave beneath his feet. Bankrupt, Victor? The man who ruled everything? But the tremble in Deep's voice told him it was true. And he needs you, she continued, to save the company. James rubbed his face, disbelief warring with anger. So this is why he wants to separate us. Deep nodded. If you choose me, he loses everything. James's jaw tightened. And if I choose him, I lose you. Deep's eyes glistened. There's more, she whispered. James looked at her sharply. What? She lowered her gaze. His men will return tonight. The last line hung in the dim kitchen air like a warning bell, soft, trembling, and deadly. James stepped closer, placing both hands on Deep's shoulders. Then they'll find me waiting, he said. Deep shook her head. No, James. They're not coming to threaten me this time. He stared at her. What are they coming for? Deep's next words shattered the quiet. Tonight, they're coming to take you. The night breeze drifted gently through the grapefruit trees, brushing over the soft earth where Deep had spent her morning planting seedlings with NHI. From the outside, the wooden house looked peaceful, almost too peaceful, as if it were swallowing the noise that should have come with a new marriage. But inside, the warmth of the wedding night had already begun to thin. James had been gone for only a day. A day. Yet the yard felt emptier than the weeks he used to spend away for work. Deep folded a small blanket on the table, her fingers trembling slightly. She told herself it was just worry. That James would return in 2 or 3 days just like he promised. That his father's unexpected return during their ceremony had not changed anything. But the truth pressed heavy on her ribs. Something was wrong. Deeply wrong, and she could feel it everywhere, in the silence of the house, in the way James's voice over the phone seemed both rushed and strangely distant, in the way the old matchmaker woman had run from her earlier that day with her face pale as old paper. But Deep didn't have time to think, not when NHI called from the garden. Ko Deep. Kon Zong Roy Ne. Deep stepped outside, forcing a smile. Good job. Let's rinse your hands before dinner. NHI beamed. Just the sight of her made the world soften for a moment. They walked toward the kitchen, but Deep's mind didn't follow. It stayed behind, stuck on the memory of the matchmaker, trembling, her voice halting and scared. Be careful with James's father, he knows everything about you since you were a child. Your fate is in his hands. He can destroy you, and NHI. Deep swallowed hard. She hated fear. But tonight, fear lived in the corners of her home. It was nearly 9 p.m. when the first sound came. Clang. A metal knock on the front gate, slow, deliberate. Deep froze mid-step. NHI looked up at her. Deep forced her breath steady. I'm sure it's nothing. Stay here. She stepped out of the kitchen. Another knock. Not hurried, not angry, just intentional. When she reached the gate, she didn't open it. Instead she called, I do. Silence. Only the wind answered. Deep's heart tapped against her ribs. She leaned forward, trying to see through the dimness. The garden light flickered on the bamboo fence, just enough to reveal the edge of a shoe. A man standing just outside, tall, still, watching. Her throat tightened. If you need something, speak. The shadow shifted. Then a low voice answered. Her breath caught. She didn't know the voice. It wasn't from the village. It wasn't James's father. It wasn't anyone who should be here at this hour. Deep stepped back slowly, ready to grab NHI and lock the house. The man's voice dropped lower. Deep felt the entire garden tilt. No, not tonight. Not when she was alone. Not when James was across a border. She didn't respond. The man exhaled sharply, annoyed. Footsteps retreated. 1, 2, 3, and the shadow dissolved into the dark. Deep's knees weakened. She clutched the wooden post, breathing hard. NHI peeked from the doorway, clutching her little toy. Ko Deep, I vey. Deep forced herself upright, her voice thin but gentle. Kong I Quan Trong. Val Na Thoi Khan. But her hands were shaking. The threats had begun. James stood outside a hotel in Phnom Penh, phone still warm in his hand after speaking to Deep and NHI. His breath formed faint clouds in the cool night air. He had lied. He hated lying, but his father had insisted. Papers had already been processed. The moment James crossed the border, 3 men had been waiting for him, not to greet him, but to escort him. Just a few days, his father had said. But now James held the whispers of rumors in his hand, words he overheard from the men assigned to assist him. He's not supposed to return anytime soon. The old man wants him out of the picture. The girl and the child, they'll deal with them later. James's pulse hammered. His father had always been cold. But this was cruelty. He dialed again. No signal. Blocked. His breath quickened. He wasn't free, he wasn't traveling, he was trapped, and Deep didn't know. Back at the wooden house, Deep had just put NHI to bed when she heard it again. Clang. Another knock. Her stomach dropped. She grabbed the nearest thing, a small gardening knife, and moved quietly toward the window, letting only a sliver of her eye peek through. Three men now. Not one. Standing near the gate. Waiting. One of them pointed toward the house, another checked something on his phone with the flashlight off. The third paced slowly, scanning the yard. Deep covered her mouth, choking on her breath. This wasn't a warning. This was surveillance. Maybe worse. She stepped back, but her foot tapped against a loose wooden board. Click, just loud enough. One of the men lifted his head, looked directly at the window. Deep's heart stopped. The flashlight switched on. The beam shot across the gate, up the tree, across the roof. And then, straight onto the window where Deep stood. She dropped immediately, crouching low, holding her breath so tightly her lungs burned. Footsteps approached the gate. A man spoke. Deep didn't move. Another voice, colder. And next time, the man added softly, Deep's blood iced. They had seen NHI earlier. Had followed her. The men finally left after several minutes, slow steps, no rush, as if they already knew the house was theirs to return to. Deep stayed crouched on the floor long after the sound of their motorbikes faded. The old matchmaker woman was right. She was in danger, and James's father had planned every piece. James moved through the dim hallway of the hotel, heading for the stairwell. Every instinct in him screamed the same thing, go home. Now, he checked the stairwell, empty. He slipped inside. 5 steps down, a hand grabbed his shoulder. He spun, fists up, but another man blocked the door. You're not leaving tonight, the man said calmly. Your father said to keep you safe. Cambodia is safer for you right now. James's jaw clenched so hard it hurt. My wife is at home. Exactly, the man replied. And that's why you need to stay away. James's breath broke. He understood. Staying away wasn't protection. It was control, isolation, punishment, and Deep, left alone with the consequences. He looked for a way out, any chance, any opening, but the man's next words froze him. Your father also said, he paused. Conbay no, NHI, she's not to be touched. Yet, as long as you don't make trouble. James saw red. He lunged, but 3 men restrained him instantly. He shouted into the stairwell, into the cold air, into anything that could carry his voice home. Then a blow struck the side of his head. The world tilted. Darkness swallowed him whole. Deep jolted awake on the floor. She didn't remember falling asleep. Only fear. Only the image of 3 men and a gate that suddenly seemed far too thin. Nhi murmured from the bedroom, Ko Deep boy, Kon Kot Nook. Deep wiped her tears quickly and walked in. She lifted Nhi into her arms. You're safe, she whispered. You're safe with Ko, but her voice cracked. And Nhi heard it. Deep held the child tighter. I'm not scared for me, she whispered. I'm scared for us. Outside, the wind rustled the grapefruit leaves. But beneath it, if one listened carefully, was the distant hum of motorbikes returning to the village road. Coming closer, slowly, too slowly.